My name is Aisha. Ibrahim. Let's settle for the details. The Ghana Health Service says it is on full alert following the confirmation of 2 Lassa fever cases in Accra by the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedubekwe, says checks at the country's borders will also be ramped up. According to the Ghana Health Service, a 40-year-old trader who was unwell for a period of 2 weeks died at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The second case is a contact of the fatal case and is currently on admission but is very stable. So far, 56 contacts have been identified and are being followed up by the Ghana Health Service. Dr. Franklin Esiedubekwe tells us more. He spoke to my colleague Samuel Kojobris on News Desk.
The news just talked about the fatality of about 1%, but I think it depends on when you seek medical intervention. And I need to state that there's an antiviral agent that can be used to manage the case. So what is most important is the ability to diagnose it early, and then you can be able to get the best outcomes. The reservoir is around, there may be areas that you may have it moving around. So it depends on the individual. Let me say that about 80% of persons who will be infected with Lassa fever will not show any clear symptoms of any severity. So they may not even go to a hospital. But this one is a case that the person gets the fever and then went to the health facility, was seen as possible material, was managed, and then got better, and then went back, and then went on and on until she died. So this is a typical scenario or the cause of Lassa fever. So it presents like the fever, general body pains, malaise, and then we try to progress to headache, sore throat, dyspnea, difficulty breathing, eventually have facial swelling, and then the last end is when you start having the bleeding. So that is not common to have it, but you can have it as it happened in our first case that unfortunately died.
So who is at risk of contracting this disease?
So far as I would say your environment is not that clean, that you are likely to have this one, which is the rat, then you are at risk, because usually it's like you have a leftover food, leave it in your kitchen, you go sleep, you come the next day, you don't know what's happening. You may have the rat coming onto that food, passing urine and droppings on it, and possibly you may not rinse it properly. Then you ingest, you may get infection. Or let's say you have some mangoes, you just leave it in your kitchen, you go sleep, you come the next day, you just take the mango, you are not washing it properly. This may be also a source of the infection. So what's the most important is about the environmental cleanliness. It's very important in this scenario of Lassa fever.
Away from that, police at Chereponi in the northeast region have arrested 10 suspects after a criminal clash at Winchike last week. The clash was said to have occurred as a result of a chieftaincy disagreement between 2 Chokosi factions in the community. 4 people were killed and over 25 houses burnt, in addition to motorbikes and other properties. According to the National Disaster Management Organization, over 600 people have been displaced by the violence. Schools remain closed as the community is deserted. Speaking to JoyNews, the District Chief Executive, Haji Azuweret Nashiri, said that 10 suspects had been remanded for 2 weeks to reappear in court. The DCE assured that the suspects will be made to face the law if found guilty.
They were picked up as a result of what we went through in Winchike, and it's all because they were found around as suspects of people who were, making phone calls and directing as to how people should come out and shoot each other. So it was based on that security arrested them. They have since been sent to Yendi, and they were arraigned and, put behind bars for 2 weeks. They are to reappear, I think, next month. So I do not have the details of what charges may be leveled against them, until they do the thorough interrogations. We will not know that.
Meanwhile, the European Union says it is training the security agencies, including the military, to effectively tackle conflicts and to check a possible influx of insurgency, which is on the rise in neighboring Burkina Faso. Head of the European Union mission to Ghana, Richard Razali, speaking on foreign affairs on the JoyNews channel, disclosed that the EU will remain active in support of Ghana to strengthen its borders and homeland security.
The European Union support to Ghana and other neighboring countries to prevent the consequences of the spillover of terrorist activities are very clear. We are supporting, we are currently supporting the Ghanaian border system. We have an active cooperation with the services in charge of immigration currently, so this is what we call the SBS project, but we have another project directly linked to this prevention dimension, which is called NORPREVSEC. We are active together with a different set of actors at local level, traditional authorities, NCCE and regional authorities, to prevent and to ensure local mediation, to prevent potential radicalization. We are as well active, we are currently active in supporting counter-terrorism assets of the country. We are training the military and the police, and we are handing over equipment like drones, so on and so forth. No later than 2 weeks ago, I've handed over a large set of equipment for maritime security, because don't forget, maritime security as well is a key issue of concern in the Gulf of Guinea. We've done that at Osukaso, which is the host of the Regional Maritime Cell Coordination, which is fully integrated in what we call the Yaoundé architecture. So this is not an EU priority, this is a priority shared by Ghana and neighboring countries. There is, a complex system of maritime security from Cape Verde to Angola, and Ghana is in the middle of this and is hosting one of the coordination centers, and we are supporting that as well. So we are not sitting on our hands, and we are working as well in order to enhance and increase our support in those areas, because the challenges are high.
3 bondholder groups are in a meeting with the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta over demands for issuer exemption. My colleague Joseph Akablay caught up with the convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edouanane, who is also participating in the ongoing meeting. He briefed JoyNews on their expectations prior to the start of today's meeting.
Well, this morning we've come as a coalition of individual bondholders groups made up of the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, and the Individual Bondholders Forum. The 3 of us, the groups, have come together as a coalition, and to come today, send a delegation of about 6 people to come and meet the minister or whoever is there, the ministry, official of the Ministry of Finance, to find out why coupons that the minister said will be paid on the 21st, coupon and principal maturity value of bonds that has matured on the 6th, that the minister promised it will be paid on the 21st. That is after the settlement day of 20th. We haven't had any information from the ministry, and therefore we have come to find out why the payment has not been made. Everybody is worried that this payment has not been made, but we can't say that government is unable to pay until we meet the minister, and then they tell us why. It may be some other reason that it's not the reason is not that they can't pay, but maybe some challenges. So until we meet the minister, and we are told why the payment has not been made. Then we'll see whether it is government is unable to pay or otherwise.
So in terms of going into this meeting now, what is the main demand you are going in with, and what will you consider to be a good outcome once you come out?
No, we want the payment to be effected. And so if government say, well, I'm going to effect payment today or tomorrow or the next day, we are fine.
Let's cross over now live to the Ministry of Finance and speak with Joseph Akablay for more. Joseph, what can you report from the Finance Ministry? Has the meeting started?
So the information we have picked up is that that meeting has not started, even though the various individual leaders of the groups have managed to gain access to the offices of the Ministry of Finance. The minister is also here, but that meeting has not started. The information that they have picked up is that the minister is locked up in another meeting. Now, we need to put on record that this particular engagement is not a formal engagement, as in it's not a case that the ministry wrote to the various holder groups to ask them that they should come over for a discussion. Neither is it the case that they have also formally requested and been granted any such meeting. What Dr. Edouard Anentwi told us was to the effect that once the bonds matured and settlement date was due and their members' investments have not been paid, they decided to come here today so that whichever official is available to interact with them can provide some answers as to why the payment has not been effected and to further demand that payment be made. And so that is why they are here. And from what we pick up, they are just a few meters away from the minister's office himself, but the minister has not met them here. And so they are still waiting, and the decision they have taken is that they will be pitching camp at the ministry's premises here till they have that interaction with either the minister or any official in authority who is able to tell them why their matured investments have not been paid, Aisha.
Joseph Akablay is our man monitoring those events at the Ministry of Finance for us. We'll definitely bring you more as and when we get some information in our subsequent bulletins. Now, out of the many plastic waste generated in Ghana, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology says only 10% is recycled. The remaining waste ends up in the sea, and as debris, the debris threaten not only marine lives but also human livelihoods of coastal dwellers in Ghana. Now, the most dangerous part is the hazard that the exposure of the toxins found in plastic waste which humans ingest. Richard Kwejonyako takes a look at the phenomenon and its impact in a Hotline documentary titled A Sea of Plastics. Here are excerpts.
Lydia Aisha is a director for policy planning, monitoring and evaluation at the Ministry of Science, Environment and Technology. Lydia is worried about the environmental impact of the garbage that is dumped in the ocean.
There's also another report by the World Wildlife Foundation, which also indicates that averagely, an average person ingests into your system approximately 5 grams of plastics weekly. And to bring it home, the 5 grams of plastics can be likened to a credit card, the size of a credit card. On the average every week, that's the quantity of plastics that we inject into our system. Because obviously the plastics have penetrated through our food chain. So you sit in Accra, you have your delicious fried rice and chicken and whatnot, and you think that, oh, I mean, the presentation is good, I cooked it well, there's nothing, but you have no idea the chemicals. Because of the ingestion of the plastics, we are having issues, or the effects of plastics is also being seen in terms of some human health issues that are confronting people. So the issue of obesity, the issue of fertility, people's, I mean, not having or having challenges to give birth because of the fact that the plastics are able to mutate the way the hormones are in our system and are able to interfere with the way the hormones operate.
the devastation that plastics are causing the fishing industry is far-reaching. Researchers have recently found alarming levels of plastics in the bellies of fishes, not in the ocean alone, but in Ghanaian lagoons too. Microplastics that end up in water bodies become even more difficult to manage because marine creatures ingest it.
Plastics being on the spawning grounds affects the life forms which the fishes lives on. Therefore, you may not have a lot of fish spawning in there, and therefore it affects the supply of fingerlings or other varieties to the ocean.
Professor Kofi Nyako is the country lead for Ocean Hub, an organization that's working to create an enabling environment for the integrated, challenge-led ocean governance research. Professor Nyako is sounding alarm bells on how the plastics and garbage in the ocean are affecting marine life and the general livelihood of fishers who depend on the ocean. Civil society organizations have been at the forefront of campaigns aimed at ridding the ocean of plastics and other garbage. One such organization is the Green Africa Youth Organization. Desmond Alunwa is co-founder of the Green Africa Youth Organization and the Africa Program Manager for the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives.
And we hopefully we will pilot this the first quarter of this year, water ATMs, where you go in, you slot your coin. Depending on how much you slot in, the water comes for you, and then you bottle up your bottle, and then you go away. And then when it finishes, you get to the next station, and then you do the same thing. I think that this is simple, and nobody is going to be taken out of business. If you want, you can still keep the person who was carrying the water sit by the dispenser, and that is okay.
The Electoral Commission is denying claims that its chairperson is disregarding an invitation by Parliament to appear before it. Officials of EC were in Parliament last week to brief MPs on the proposed constitutional instrument which makes the Ghana card the sole identity document to register as a voter, according to a statement released by the Commission. At the time the invitation came, the EC chairperson had traveled to Nigeria. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with details. Kweku, tell us more about this statement from the Electoral Commission.
So according to this statement signed by the Public Affairs of the Electoral Commission, at the time this letter came in from Parliament inviting the Electoral Commission to appear before it, the Commission chairperson herself, Madam Jean Mensah, had traveled to Nigeria to observe that election that is currently ongoing. And that as of now, she has not arrived. She respects Parliament, and that she has never done anything that shows that she disrespects Parliament, as some have made it seem. Last week, MPs were at each other's throats over the proposed EC constitutional instrument that will make the Ghana card the sole identity document to enroll as a voter. The minority demanded that Madam Jean Mensah herself appear to provide some explanation as to the reason why that is being done. It was the deputy, Bosman Asari, who appeared before Parliament to explain to them exactly what was happening. The minority did not like that and asked that they wanted to see Madam Jean Mensah herself.
Do we know exactly when Jean Mensah will appear before the House?
So as per the business statement that was presented last week and the conversation that leadership has had so far, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Jean Mensah, is expected to do so tomorrow. They are going to have what they call a committee of the whole. The rules will be relaxed a little bit because in Parliament, if you are not a member or a minister or the president or the vice, you are not allowed on the floor of Parliament. And so the rule will be relaxed a little bit for Madam Jean Mensah to appear and explain to MPs what exactly is going into this new proposal.
We understand that up to 3.5 million Ghana cards printed by the NIA and its partners have been seized by some banks. Tell us more about that.
So the Ghana card, the producers, the NIA and its partners are in debt to the tune of about $100 million to some banks. The banks have been asking government to pay up this money for some time. Government has not been able to honor this obligation. So about 3.5 million cards belonging to NIA and its partners, which is being used for this registration exercise, has now been seized by the banks who NIA and its partners are indebted to. They say that government must pay up before they release these funds. Ken Atifa, who is the boss of NIA, has confirmed this. He says that about $9 million has already been released by government, but the banks are saying that that is not enough. If you are owing me $100 million, you should be paying me more than just $9 million. So what we know now is that the banks are still keeping these 3.5 million Ghana cards, which they have seized because of the NIA's indebtedness here.
Kwekwa Asante is our parliamentary affairs correspondent. This is an issue we are monitoring with keen interest. Definitely will bring you more as and when the Electoral Commission appears before Parliament. Now, more results are expected shortly from Nigeria's tightest election since the end of military rule in 1999. So far, only one of the 36 state results has officially been declared, leading to growing frustrations. Electoral Commission has apologized for the unresponsiveness of the results, viewing page on its website, saying a surge in use caused technical hitches. The delays are partly a result of the election continuing for a second day in parts of the country. The election on Saturday saw voting start several hours late in many areas and also attacks on some polling stations. More than 87 million people were eligible to take part, making it the biggest democratic exercise in Africa. The election has seen an unprecedented challenge to the two-party system that has dominated Nigeria for 24 years. Kayla Maguire is with Channels TV Nigeria. She joins us on Zoom with more. Kayla, earlier you stated that it's actually unpredictable you can't be sure to predict who is winning these elections. Has anything changed? Hello, Kayla. Kindly unmute for me.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, absolutely nothing has changed. It is exactly the same way. We are seeing a lot of complaints. Of course, you hit the nail on the head right there. People complain about the Electoral Commission's viewing portal and the issues with viewing the results on there. And that is still going on. We're seeing a lot of people saying, look, we need to understand what's really happening with this portal. But the Collation Center is open. We're seeing a lot of political parties raising objections as to some of the results that they're seeing, some of the issues that they noted in particular polling units. So we're seeing that happen at the National Collation Center right here in Abuja. I'm personally at the FCT INEC office. That's where the presidential election for the nation's capital is being announced. The FCT has 6 area councils. We've only got results from 5 of those area councils. We're waiting for one more so that we can be able to see exactly what has happened with the elections right here in Abuja. But absolutely nothing has changed yet. We still have people at the National Collation Center having questions about that INEC portal. And of course, INEC, having to defend themselves in this matter.
What's actually causing the delay? It's actually day 3 of the elections.
So the statement that we got from INEC was that the viewing portal had a bit of a challenge. There's a lot of use on it. But before the elections, they promised that there was going to be a backup to this particular viewing portal. And those are the questions really that we're trying to get answers from INEC on. But it's an unfortunate situation, but it's one that we're watching keenly to see exactly what happens as the days go by.
Well, there's also the bit about the third force, which is actually splitting votes and making things difficult for the traditional parties. To what extent is this, division?
It is astounding. It's astounding how this third force has been able to mop up a lot of the votes. Remember, this third force, like I've been saying, is basically supported by a lot of young people. And a lot of young Nigerians have not been used to a country that works. So, this man used to be in the People's Democratic Party. He moved over to the Labour Party. And of course, many young people were able to buy into what it is that he's selling. And we're seeing that, in fact, we're seeing results from Lagos, which is one of the strongholds of the All Progressives Congress, not just the All Progressives, but the APC candidate himself, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we're seeing results stating clearly that the Labour Party has taken Lagos. We're seeing all of that happening. Even in the nation's capital, we're seeing that, where a lot of the votes that are coming in from the area councils, we're seeing the Labour Party leading in a lot of these elections. So it's very, I think someone used the word for it, is humbling. It's humbling for the Nigerian politician now. You cannot go with that landslide mentality anymore. Now you have to be able to actually prove your worth in office. And then you have to be able to defend your mandate. And the Nigerian people are now going to be watching you to make sure that you do that. So that's one of the situations that we've seen with this third force. It has completely shocked everybody. And it's a beautiful thing to see, to be quite honest, because the monopoly was becoming, a situation where people thought they could act with impunity and things like that. But that monopoly has been broken officially by this third force.
Wow, quite interesting revelations there. But of course, before we went into this elections, we knew that issues like shortage of the currency, shortage of fuel, the economy, for instance, were the game changers. And we also learned that the Nigerian electorate is unpredictable. How are all of these playing in the current elections?
Well, the frustrations just before the elections may have actually added to the zest in the Nigerian voter. Because you see, I'll give you an example. On the day of the election, people stayed in some places. The election started very late, and you finished from there, went back home, you didn't have electricity, and you couldn't buy fuel to put in your generator, and then you don't have cash on you. So a lot of these things just before the election may have contributed to the frustrations that Nigerians were facing, and may have pushed them in many ways to vote what they believe would be a perfect solution to their problem. So whatever party was that the Nigerian felt would be a solution to my immediate problems would have been what informed that particular vote. We actually saw this coming. The moment the cash crunch started, we knew, okay, there wouldn't be cash around. People wouldn't have money in their hands. So if they don't have money on them, they'll be pretty frustrated. What a lot of people thought was that this was going to, ensure that vote buying would be successful. But what we saw in many places was that people who actually brought cash to polling centers were chased away by the voters. So it's an awake.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Kayla McGuire is with Channels TV. It just got frozen there. We'll try and get her back. She's making some interesting revelations. Kayla, if you're back, you were making some very interesting points there.
Yes, I was saying that the frustrations that Nigerians had to face just before the election may have actually pushed them to be more vocal in their voting. So it's a reawakening of the Nigerian people, and it's beautiful to watch all these over 13 million new voters, 70% of which were young people. So it's fantastic to see all of them rise up and actually be a part of the process. We might be seeing a reawakening of the Nigerian population.
So what is this Labour Party candidate actually doing differently that is gaining the attention of many? Some say that he brings some youthful freshness to the game. Is that what is working out for him?
It is working out for him in that regard. Yes, he is fairly young. He's not a very young man, but he is younger than the other candidates. He's younger than a lot of the forebearers, the most popular of the candidates. He's actually younger than they are. But that's not just what he may be bringing to the table. I think young people in Nigeria want to see young people. We've seen old politicians in power for so long. Now, breaking that cycle may not happen with this election. We don't know where this election is going to go, really. But he basically seems like a lesser evil to a lot of young people. That's what we're noticing from the electorate. He may have, he was governor. He's an establishment man. He was governor in Anambra State for 8 years. He's a businessman. I remember when the Panama Papers came out, his name was among those who were in that particular scandal as well. So But when you put him next to the other candidates, a lot of young people feel like they relate to him a little bit more. He's speaking their language, so to speak. Not to say that the other candidates didn't campaign and speak the language of young people. I think it just helped for a lot of these new voters that this is a man who seemed like he was around their age and was speaking something that they felt they believed in. So that has, in many ways, like I said earlier, broken the monopoly in many places that were considered strongholds to particular political parties. But we've not seen the end of it yet. Like I said, Nigeria has 36 states and 1 federal capital territory. To win the election in Nigeria, you need 25% of at least 24 states. You need to get at least 25% of 24 states for you to win the election in Nigeria. So that dynamic is what we're watching out for.
We have a very long way to go, but we are so much interested in this particular election. Is the biggest, if you ask me, in Africa. But before I let you go, let me find out the safeness or safety of people like you, because before we went into these elections, we heard of so many incidents that actually scared so many people. I mean, how safe is the environment for people like you who are monitoring events, for observers, for electorates who have to go out to vote?
Nation's capital, so it's heavily guarded, right? So it's a very secure place right now. In other parts of the country, you know, we haven't had cases of post-election violence yet. That was something that a lot of journalists were scared of, you know, how people would react to the results. Would they be able to take losing, for instance? There was a peace accord that was signed just before the election by all the political parties, all 18 contestants signed this peace accord, promising that they will be able to take the results of this election. Young people across the country watched this happen. So we've not heard of any post-election violence. What we did see was violence during the elections. So we haven't seen any of that happen afterwards. But we're watching to see how it unfolds, you know, how the candidates can conduct themselves as the results start to come out. But safety in Abuja, at least, is secure here. There's a heavy military presence all over the place. And we're watching to see how the days unfold.
Kayla, I'm grateful for the updates. She is with the Channels TV in Abuja. Definitely, this is your election headquarters. Stay here. We'll bring you all the updates from Nigeria. We'll take a break on JoyNews today. When we return, there's business.
Hello, good afternoon. Warm welcome to the business segment on JoyNews today with me, Pius Kojo Baka. The University of Ghana Business School has signed a memorandum of understanding with Access Pensions to support brilliant but needy students. According to the Dean, Professor Justice Bawale, the deal will ease pressure on academic work and propel students to forge ahead to pursue their goals. He spoke to Joy Business at the signing ceremony.
Of the partnership, Access Pensions will commit 1 million cedis within 5 years to support students at the University of Ghana Business School. The company will support students with various training programs to help some students acquire skills. Professor Justice Bawale called for more support from other corporate institutions.
In the business school, we have students from all walks of life. Our admission criteria is based on performance, not where people come from. So you would find young people who have the grades that we are looking for. They make the 6th and the 7th and the 8th. That's what we take. They come in and then you realize that they have just been able to meet one of the 2 critical conditions. In other words, you should have the grades, but you should also be able to pay your fees. Unfortunately, when they come in and they are unable to pay their fees, then we struggle with them. So they come in, they are stranded, they cannot even concentrate on their studies. And many of them will typically come through offices asking personal support and what have you. And sometimes, unfortunately, some of them get taken advantage of. The university has a system, the University Financial Aid Office, that supports students. But, you know, the University of Ghana, over 70,000 students. So you are looking at a drop in the ocean. So here in the business school, our students, as dean, one of the things that I'm looking out for is to be able to take out my own students and to take care of them, especially those that are needy. And that's why we keep going out to talk to corporate institutions to support us. Access Pension didn't wait for us to come. And the reason is that 2 of their most senior officers are alumni of our school, and they know what it is that we do here. On their 10th anniversary, they reached out to us and said, well, business, we know that you have this challenge. We want to provide some partnership so we can support.
Chief Financial Officer for Access Pensions, Matthew Money, indicated that this is to bridge the gap between academia and industry.
Education is a great equalizer. You never know where the next talent is going to surface from. And the school has made us aware that there are many students in level 400, very promising, but hard to drop out. So we thought we could extend a gesture to help the university to assist such students. And also just not finance that, take them through training, in our corporate training, so by the time they come out, they are much more prepared to lead their own lives the way they want it to be. So our board made an announcement for that support last year on our 10th anniversary. And so today we've come to witness it. We are committing up to 1 million Ghana cedis over 5 years to the school. We intend to, as we get more financial resources, expand it to other faculties, because there are people in sociology, archaeology, psychology, all their work impacts society. There's School of Communication Studies also. Not only that, University of Ghana is a test case. We want to see if we could get to the other universities in the country. And in that vein, I want to encourage other corporate entities. The universities have room to receive more support. So there's
Wholesale and Investment Banking Division at GCB Bank, Sam Edu, has charged practitioners in the financial market to lead the charge in whipping up confidence in the financial markets by encouraging savings. This, he believes, would be crucial in boosting economic activities. He has been speaking at the handing over ceremony of ACI Ghana Financial Markets Association. Here is more.
ACI Financial Markets Association, Ghana, an affiliate of ACI International, is a leading association of regulated financial markets professionals. The group, which is committed to educating market participants and deepening collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, has held its handing over ceremony in Accra. Speaking at the ceremony, Executive Director, Wholesale and Investment Banking Division at GCB Bank, Sam Edu, urged practitioners in the wholesale financial market space to do all it takes to encourage private savings and inspire confidence in the fixed income market.
For us to see the growth in Ghana, it is the sum total of everybody's savings in Ghana that's going to drive it. So be it investment, because we lend on the back of the savings that we take from the market. Now we are faced with a situation where savings is being threatened. And what's going to happen? The long-term impact is that if we are not careful, and all of us in this room don't stand up and drive the thoughts around, the negative thoughts around savings back into a positive position, we'll be here, and in 3 years from now, we'll gather in a nice hotel again, but Ghana will be going down lower and lower the slippery slope. So I'd like to urge all of us that notwithstanding the difficulty that we face as ACI, we should take it upon ourselves in many ways than one to bring back the broken the savings culture that we currently have in Ghana.
The newly sworn-in president of the association, Lawrence Osila-Jaboampong, encouraged members to uphold the highest standards in their service delivery.
It is our responsibility to support the government to ensure that
the confidence is brought back to the markets. In terms of the kind of pricing we show, in terms of the kind of information that we put out there as market participants is very critical. And so we believe that there's a lot that we can do as ACI Ghana to ensure that the right information is out there. And when the market sees that the information is coming from us, I believe that there's a lot more, it emphasizes the fact that there's a lot that the market can still do. And so we'll be calling on all members to do their very best to ensure that we support the market. Yeah. He further called for deepening collaborations with stakeholders in the industry to ensure an improved sector. We're looking forward to enhance collaboration with all stakeholders.
And that'll be all for business for now. I am Pius Kujobaka. My colleague Darrell Kwa will come your way at 1 p.m. with the marketplace. In the meantime, though, sports is next.
Let's do sports now on JoyNews today with me, Muftau Nabila Abda. The Ghana League Clubs Association has announced that the fixture between Accra House of Folk and Asante Kotoko would serve as this year's President Cup. Announcing the decision on their Twitter handle, the Ghana League Clubs Association said the league match between Giants House of Oak and Asante Kotoko scheduled for Sunday, March 5 in Accra will serve as the 2023 President Cup. The winner of the tie will be crowned a champion with the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, in attendance. That is what the Ghana League Clubs Association published on their Twitter handle earlier today. The president of the Ghana League Club, the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreko, he has revealed that the e-ticketing system was not done with the football community as a part of it. Speaking at the Semper FM Sports Dialogue, he said that the government of Ghana did not involve the Ghana Football Association to educate its members on the usage of e-ticketing.
There are two key areas or two key stadia facilities that will have big problems, i.e. the Barbara Sports Stadium and i.e. the Accra Sports Stadium. And I would want to say that one of the biggest challenges that we have faced has to do with the deployment of the electronic ticketing system. I believe in the electronic ticketing system, but I think that it was our football people were not or did not have the best of education on how it can be used. I think that if you want to deploy such a massive strategy, which clearly departs or takes all of us from the way we're used to accessing football games, it's always important for us to have a clear educational strategy that would ensure that people really understand the strategy and people accept the strategy. It's also important that we bring people along so they own the strategy, and this was not done. So clearly, since the introduction of the e-ticketing strategy, Accra Sports Stadium, the Barra Sports Stadium has seen a massive downward trend in consumption of games at both stadia. So this is a big problem, and I think that the Football Association is very much interested in engaging the Ministry of Youth and Sports on this particular strategy and see how best we can get this off as one of the challenging points in our desire to get people to come to our various stadia.
That's your sports for now, but we do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com and also at 2 p.m. on my colleague Nathaniel Arthur comes your way with sports today. Up next is World News.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews. Today, a lot has happened in the world of entertainment at the weekend, from Joe Metal thrilling patrons in Togo to everything you need to know about the Kumasi edition of A Week Experience with Diana Hamilton. Here is what you've missed. Beautiful week. Let's talk about all the events that you've missed at the weekend. Let's talk about Diana Hamilton's Awake Experience, which happened at the Bantama Church of Pentecost. The likes of Sisi Chum, PSA Esther, and Kofi Sapon were all at hand to make the event a memorable one. So let's move away from that. Let's go to Togo and talk about Togo in worship with Joe Metal, the Bethel Revival Choir, and Akese Brimpong. Here is all you missed. Now let's talk about KK Fosu and Familia's performance at the Etreso Ojura Festival in the Ofuasi Eyerebi constituency. Here is all you missed. Well, on that note, we end Showbiz here on JoyNews today. There's more Showbiz news in our subsequent bulletins. Also, when you log on to myjoyonline.com /entertainments, you find all the Showbiz news there. Also, E-Vibes is showing. Am I talking too much?
No, I'm enjoying.
E-Vibes is showing on this channel, obviously also on Joy Prime channel. Please make a date.
The US series.
The US series is
Give
still
them
showing.
360. Thank you for bringing us Showbiz.
And for more news,
bulletin.
okay, go ahead.
You can log on to myjoyonline.com for all the updates and of the developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Bye.